It's the Custard TV podcast. I've not done that in a while, so I'm looking forward to doing it, and I've just done it, so there you go. I'm Luke, editor and runner of the website, thecustardtv.com, joined as always by my faithful podcast companions, Gary in the London area.
Yo.
Yo, Snoop Dogg.
Yo.
And Matt,
Brethren.
the Postal Panther.
Shizzle manizzle.
How dare you?
I'd rather not, I don't know where it's been. And Matt, the Postal Panther.
The Postal Panther?
Yeah.
How am I a panther?
Oh,
Well, it has to be alliterative, doesn't it? So
It does.
yeah.
Postal
You
Panther.
could be oh, can I rub your belly?
No, I'd rather you didn't.
You want me to go? You do.
No,
oh,
yeah,
No?
just-
Oh, okay.
I've just got visions
you
of
can go rub
of a
Gary's
no-
belly, but we've only got.
I've
Yeah,
just got
easy.
images.
Easy.
Just got images of a northern panda covered in stumps. Like,
What does a northern panda look like compared to?
it's a panda
got its
with
own-
your face.
It's got its own whippet.
It's a panda covered in gravy.
Instead
It
of
lived
eating
in about like 1998 or something.
instead of eating just bamboo, it has bamboo with gravy.
Yeah.
Nice.
Luke, Gary, and Matt talking telly on the Custard TV podcast.
TV news, reviews, previews, Gary going west to catch us up on all of the latest things. And you may or may not follow me on Twitter. You may or may not follow Gary on Twitter. You may or may not have seen this tweet where Gary said, "Call the midwife on Sunday made me cry."
I saw you highlighted it.
It did.
Yes.
And when we get to that portion of the show,
I'm with
will
you
tell
there.
you.
I'm
Right.
with you there, Gary.
Are you going to be able to hold it together?
I wasn't.
try.
I wasn't full tears, but I was sort of misty-eyed.
Where was it on the TV crying scale, Matt? Because you and I do have our moments.
I mean, it
Was
wasn't
it up-
full like educating Cardiff, educating Yorkshire sort of style.
Okay.
Didn't go full
Alright.
Musharraf. I think
Yeah.
that's the level.
Yeah,
It-
that's
it was
that's how we're going to take it from now. It's not the crying scale.
Not the full
It's
match.
whether we...
Yeah, I was kind
full
of
mush.
There's one scene, and when we get to get to that portion of the show, me and Matt can
Call the midwife is always tries to evoke the emotions though.
It does. I saw an article this week somewhere suggesting that Call the Midwife should be shown in secondary
I
school.
saw that actually. On
Primary
Facebook.
school?
And I quite agree. There's more sex education and real life stuff in that than I think on
Well,
high
it
school.
certainly will put a lot of them off having sex in the 1960s. So let's just put it.
Well,
like
yeah.
that.
Although to be fair, for a lot of them, that's not an option anymore.
No.
I like the way you said for a lot of them. Like, some of them could do it, but
Time travel.
Time travel. Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe on that Michael J. Fox time traveling legal show that you pitched last week.
some cancellations and some renewals. The Real Marigold Hotel, which was the reality show with celebrity pensioners over in India, that's coming back for a Christmas special. I just can't think of any more celebrity pensioners that I'd like to see on it. I thought maybe Eunice Stubbs.
Well, give it a year, and there'll bound to be a few more, isn't there?
Yeah, Eunice Stubbs,
Colin Baker will probably be in there.
Colin Baker,
Did little.
Rolf Harris.
No.
Cannon and Ball.
Oh, edit point.
Cannon and or Ball.
He's at Her
Yeah.
Majesty's pleasure at the moment.
Yeah.
He's near to me actually.
Is he?
Stafford.
That's worrying.
Report it. Okay.
Not that near.
Oh, just nearby.
He's not
And the
tying me
trip.
kangaroo down. Let's just put it like that.
Oh, God. Okay, and The Trip, which is Steve Coogan and Rob Brydon being really self-indulgent, is coming to Sky Atlantic, going to Spain this time. Really not bothered myself, but there
No,
you go.
Sky. I mean, now it's on Sky Atlantic. Sky Atlantic to me spells like do whatever you want with it. We don't care.
Yeah.
Have all this.
It spells to me, Mr. Partridge, whatever his name is, said, "Could I move my show to your channel as I'm doing Alan Partridge?" And they went, "Yeah, Mr. Coogan, you can."
God, that was the weirdest sentence. You started it off not
Halfway
knowing
through,
who...
I remembered the name of the person.
Gary,
Yes.
I think it's safer if you went west.
Okie dokie. Two very brief reviews. One from me, catching up on something that Luke and Matt saw a few weeks ago. This Monday saw the premiere episode of American Crime Story. Was it An American Crime Story, The People versus O.J. Simpson, which is adapted from a book and stars Cuba Gooding Jr. as O.J., John Travolta and David Schwimmer. They are the main proponents. And basically this is the... What would you call this? It's made by Ryan Murphy, so you cannot call this a documentary. It's a...
Well, you can't
it's a
call it a
drama.
documentary. It's a drama.
Couldn't call it a documentary anyway, really.
Well, you could, because it's documenting events, but
Well,
it's
no, a
doing it in a
documentary,
dramatic way.
Gary, a
Isn't
documentary
written.
is a factual thing. It's not acted.
Oh, okay.
This is you would either call this
I
a
feel like we're going back
a
to the basics of how
docudrama
TV works.
or biopic, maybe.
Okay. Yeah, okay. I agree with a lot of what Matt and Luke said a few weeks ago, that some of the...
Just leave it there.
Well, no.
That's the end of the review, surely.
Yeah. Some of the acting was rather strange. You don't know whether some of them are doing an impression or an act of the person, particularly John Travolta, although I think he's just... I don't know. You can't tell whether he's watched the guy and trying to copy him or whether he's just acting quite badly. But his kind of looks and his poises to camera are just, almost bordering on comedic.
Did it mean you struggled to take it seriously like Matt and I did?
A little bit,
time?
although, as I think we mentioned, I remember a little bit more about the actual case than you two, being a bit older and remembering it. I did remember an awful lot about it, the fact that, on the night he came out and, he had a driver.
He came out as well on the
He
night.
came out. It was a big thing.
He had a lot on his plate.
They did embellish. I mean, they obviously were embellishing. They made a big point of mentioning the fact that when OJ was waited before he was arrested, was living in Kim Kardashian's bedroom, and they made a big thing of that. And there's no way of
where
knowing
not many men have been since.
No. Well, depends. You throw me there. I'm gonna admit it.
Doesn't take much.
Doesn't take much. One of the things that I thought was good was the way in which they introduced a lot of the big players. You had Robert Thurman, who comes up a lot later on there. Kato Kaelin is well positioned at the beginning. So I think that part was interesting. And there are lots of more weird and wonderful characters. Wait till you get to the judge. Oh my goodness, I remember that.
Harry, I think you're on the wrong podcast. I think if you did a podcast each week about court cases, you'd nail every name.
I know.
Without a problem.
Well, sort of related. Did anyone ever watch the dramatisation of the Michael Jackson trial that they did on Sky?
No.
What?
No, I don't think I did.
You would have missed this, Lou. This would have been when you were in America.
Oh, I need this on YouTube.
They did every day the Michael Jackson. I think it was Sky One or Sky News. They dramatised it.
That's right, because
basically.
they weren't allowed in the
Why?
court as much or something.
They weren't allowed to go in the court, or there was some order where they couldn't film the court scenes, so they did an actual dramatisation of it every day.
You
So
know,
they had
like in
actors playing like Martin Bashir
and Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson, obviously Michael Jackson.
Well, yeah, he was there. But what was quite funny was that they dressed him up to look like Michael Jackson from the 80s, didn't they? So you could clearly see that it was Michael Jackson. Like, he had the white glove and the things, didn't he? So... And secondly, new this week on Sky Atlantic was a new drama. The executive producers are Martin Scorsese, who was also directing the first episode, and Mick Rolling Stone Jagger. This was Vinyl. Luke and Matt, you both saw this. What were your thoughts?
Yeah.
I put my hands up.
Luke?
I put my hands up.
Put your hands up.
In a very rock and roll way. I really, really struggled, and I didn't do the last half hour.
But it was 2 hours.
Yeah,
I mean, it wasn't...
so what you're saying is you did a Gary.
Yes, but I think even if Gary had done a Gary on this, I think I wouldn't have minded.
I did even more of a Gary. I didn't even watch it.
That is classic Gary.
That's classic.
The first episode was a feature-length episode.
Oh, God, it was long.
Feature-length as in longer than most films. I think it was just under 2 hours. I thought it was going to be 2 hours with ads, so, like 90 minutes.
No ads, it's HBO.
Yeah. Well, when Gary said it was 2 hours last week, I assumed he meant 2 hours Sky Atlantic 2 hours. But no, there is no ads on HBO. And when I was like, hour and 55 minutes, stars Bobby Cannavale,
who we like.
As Richie, who's the head of American Century Record Company, and it basically it's one of Luke's favourite narrative things ever. It starts at him going to a gig, being in a car, coming out, and then it flashes back 5 days in the past.
Yeah.
And was there a voiceover as well, just to really...
And then it flashes back further in the past as well to see how he became a record producer and him producing...
It's a time travel piece. Brilliant. I'll watch it.
Him producing this guy who wants to be a blues singer, but they only want him to sing like the twist and things like that. That for me was the bit where it lost me a little bit. This sort of flashback to his becoming this record producer boss and maybe losing some of his love of music in the process. We learn that he's a recovering addict. That there's some stuff with the Germans, like the company's being bought out by the Germans.
Yeah.
They're using the publishing rights to Led Zeppelin's stuff, and a DJ is having a fight with Donny Osmond, and they represent Donny Osmond. So it's very of the 70s.
Obviously, I know I mention this every week, but I'll mention it again in case anyone's new. I lived in the States, so I know how network TV works versus,
Cable.
HBO and cable. They literally can't say damn on network TV after 10 o'clock midnight. So it's like everything they can't do, they just do.
I know what you
on
mean.
all
I
these...
was thinking that.
Yeah.
And
But you were looking forward to seeing Ray Romano snorting cocaine off a record.
I was, but it was just all the language got me down. I thought Robert Plant and all the Led Zeppelin stuff was terrible.
Yeah.
There
was two things I liked. Firstly, Bobby Cannavale, who I thought did try his best with this.
Yes, although I think he gave up at the same point I did.
And also, I quite like the storyline involving Juno Temple, who played the sandwich girl who got this tape from this band. I can't remember the name.
I liked her as well, because she was the only thing in it, or the only character in it that you actually could root for and feel any sympathy towards.
But then she ended up sleeping with the lead singer of the group, and you're like...
I know. It's James Jagger as well, so there's a bit of nepotism going on.
I would say as well, though, going back to your point about the swearing and all that, it's written by Terence Winter, who, with Martin Scorsese, did The Wolf of Wall Street, which I absolutely hated. And
yes.
I've decided not to watch that because of what people have said.
It does sort of smack of that a bit to me. That sort of excess that's in The Wolf of Wall Street runs throughout this. But the thing is that they're saying that this is a failing record company, and yet all these people are still doing all the drugs, all the stuff. And there's some actors in here that Olivia Wilde, for example, who I think is an excellent actress.
Yeah.
Is wasted in the well, she's not wasted because she's a recovering addict as well.
Yeah, she's about the only one not wasted in it.
Well, her and Bobby Cannavale are both sort of recovering addicts. She plays his wife, and there's a little hint that they might do something with her character. But it's like, you've got 2 hours. Give us something else.
You could do it all in 2 hours.
Katrine from Borgen pops up and says, "Oh, how are you? I haven't seen you in a while," and then disappears again.
So neither of you will probably be continuing this. Luke probably not.
No, I honestly couldn't.
No, hang on. I might just give it one more go because this to see what it's like in its sort of normal form.
Do you know what I used to do? This might sound a bit weird, but whenever you watch pilots, and I've watched a lot of pilots, sometimes you would watch the opening credits to the first proper episode just to see what they did, because you sometimes get a feel for the tempo and the style of the show, even from just the new opening credits or what they're
I appreciate what you mean, but HBO's a bit different.
Yeah, I know HBO's a bit different. I'm just saying, in pilot world, I would tend to watch even just 5 minutes of the next episode just
comparing this to some of the other programs we're going to talk about this week. There's no need for. I think generally what turned me off this was, as one we've said, like the content, the swearing, the drug taking, the drinking. I mean, there's that. I don't know if you've got that far, because obviously in the start we see him with the card with the homicides.
Well, there's also a murder in this.
Like, did you get that far? Did you see who got murdered? It was the DJ. It was the radio DJ who got murdered. There's this whole scene where the DJ's there with a gun and it's all confusing. And there's a room where there's just an orgy going on, and Bobby Cannavale just sort of walks through the orgy to talk to this guy. So there's that, and there's just a sense of it not being disciplined. And I'm going back now to when we went to Edinburgh, and Nicola Schindler was talking to the guy from HBO.
You walked through an orgy? What? Oh, no.
She was talking to the guy from HBO, and she was saying, "How do you give Martin Scorsese notes?" And I went back to that because I was thinking, he obviously hasn't. He's obviously got...
He didn't give him
Martin
anything.
Scorsese knows what he's doing. Terence Winter knows what he's doing. Let them get on with it. And what we've got is just a bit of a mess, really. I think in there's a really good... there's interesting characters. I like, as I say, Bobby Cannavale and Juno Temple, those two, and their characters, they could have had quite a decent series.
There will be people who will watch this purely because of those things you just mentioned, because they are fed up with network television, that doesn't do that.
But
so there will be people that, because The Wolf of Wall Street was an extremely popular